New Zealand. Let's go.
This week, veteran Jake Matthews thankful he didn't quit fighting during COVID.
And when the kids come along, you know, it's not just your own interest that you have to look out for. It's a job. I mean, not everyone who can just say, oh, I want to quit my job today.
Junior Tafa on how City Kickboxing best prepared him for his light heavyweight debut.
One of the best teams in the world. They got some of the best coaches in the world.
And we celebrate Israel Adesanya making history in the UFC Hall of Fame. Get ready for UFC on Sky. Kia ora whānau, we are here at the UFC Apex in sunny Las Vegas on International Fight Week ahead of UFC 317, and we have already been speaking to the biggest names that will feature on this card, including Aotearoa's own Kai Kara-France, who will be fighting for that flyweight title.
You were talking earlier about taha Māori.
Proud of where I come from, so I wanted to showcase that for this fight.
International Fight Week continues here in Las Vegas, and we are at T-Mobile Arena for the traditional Hall of Fame, where our very own Israel Adesanya will be inducted after his battle with Kelvin Gastelum for the interim middleweight title. Now, we are told on the download that there are going to be some big names walking the red carpet tonight. UFC light heavyweight Carlos Alberg is in Sin City. Whānau joins us now on the red carpet. Kia ora, Carlos.
Kia ora, kia ora.
To my wife in New Zealand, kia ora.
Thank you so much.
Hello.
Right here.
This was one of the most important moments, not just in my career, but in my life. As a man, top 3, one of the most important moments in my life.
It's Nevada, USA. This is UFC 317. Topuria versus Oliveira.
The energy during International Fight Week is insane, and boy, do we have a card.
It is phenomenal in here tonight. It's been like that all week.
All the crazy shit I did tonight. Those would be the best memories. I just wanna let it go for the night. That would be the best therapy for me. Hey, hey. Yeah, yeah. Hey, hey. Yeah, yeah.
This is the moment you all been waiting for.
You came through Fight Week this week with so much confidence.
Kia ora e te iwi, and welcome to UFC on Sky. Ko Ravindo Hunia tōku ingoa. We are back in Aotearoa, New Zealand, But we're not quite done with Las Vegas just yet. We do want to take the time to not only celebrate but acknowledge New Zealand MMA history made when our very own Israel Adesanya was inducted into the UFC's Hall of Fame Fighters Wing after his clash against Kelvin Gastelum in 2019 for the interim middleweight title. And I caught up with both of them on the red carpet. Joining us now, Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin, first of all, congratulations. You'll be inducted into the fighting wing of the UFC Hall of Fame tonight. First of all, what did you think when you were given the news about going into the Hall of Fame?
Well, first of all, I didn't even get the news. I found out I was at home, and I was just about to go to bed, really, and I get a text saying, "You're on TV." And I rushed to the living room. I turn on my TV and I watch the announcement, so it was cool, I guess. It was cool to see that at that time, but I didn't get no formal announcement other than the actual promo they put on air.
Well, despite that and the way you received the news, obviously worthy of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do you think back to that fight? I know it's 2019, it was a little while back, but do you think back to that fight? It's always on yours and Izzy's highlight reels.
Yeah. I mean, people still message me about that fight. Every time I run into fans, they always go, "Bro, that Izzy fight, that Izzy fight." I was just like, "Yeah, man, thank you." So people still bring it up to this day, and it's because of the fans that it's going in the Hall of Fame.
Your thoughts on Izzy and his career and what he's been able to make of it in the middleweight division?
I hate him. No, I'm kidding.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. No, he's always, even before we fought, he was always real respectable and towards me. So I have nothing but respect and love for the guy and admiration. And when you go through what we did together, you build a special bond. So we've always had like this little bromance, I guess you could say, after.
I mean, another thing that you both have in common, you've been in the UFC for a little while now, so talk to us about, this legacy, like this is going to be a part of that, your story, when all is said and done. So, your journey through the UFC, what have you made for it?
Yeah, this is an incredible book. It's just another chapter that's done, and I think the book is still yet to be finished. So I'm still writing my story.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations this evening.
Thank you.
Big night, mate. Woo, big night.
Another one.
Yes, another.
Yes.
Here we go again. Another record.
And then Saturday, another.
Yeah. UFC Hall of Famer. Ooh. Soon to be inducted, Israel Adesanya. Look, Izzy, we had Kelvin Gastelum come through here earlier talking about that battle he had with you, and I said to him, I was like, when you run a highlight reel for either you or him in the UFC, that fight is always in at top of mind. So your thoughts of thinking back to that battle?
Man, for me, that fight transcends the sport for me. Top 3, top 5, one of the greatest moments in my life, that 5th round, because it showed me the levels that you have to dig deep within to find out who you are, that mana. So I was able to tap into that and find it that weekend. But I do feel appreciative. I feel grateful just to be here and to be acknowledged for that fight. So yeah, at the moment it's calm.
Look, when I was talking to Kai, I was talking about arriving in Las Vegas, checking into our hotel. Sean, the cameraman, and I go out onto the Las Vegas Strip. Kai's billboard is on one side and yours on the other.
Oh, really?
So special, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're on that billboard, the Hall of Fame billboard. And I was like, where are we right now? What is this happening?
Kiwis on the world stage, dominating, and you all taking notice. So appreciate you.
Yeah. It was just really special to see, and you couldn't help but feel so proud. And then, speaking of that, I know that this is your moment tonight, but you must be so proud of your teammate, Kai Kara-France, and this opportunity.
I'm so, every time his name gets brought up, even now, I get chills up and down my back, up and down my spine. I feel like I'm so ready for him to become King Kai. The way he's tapping into his culture, tapping back into the terreo, standing on business. And right now, I feel like the Maori people need like a hero, someone, because even with the treaty and stuff that's happening right now, all the bullshit, they need someone to champion them. And who better than Kai? He's going to get this done, take the belt back home, and fight for the people.
I love that. An absolute ambassador, A, for the sport, B, for the culture, and C, and Aotearoa in general, and as are you.
Yes, amen. I mean, I'm still here. I'm still doing my thing. I'm just like Deadpool. I'm in the side goofing off, but I'll get active. When it's time, I'll get active.
Well, congratulations on tonight. It's
Thank
absolute
you.
history. Obviously, it's history in New Zealand, but it's history here as well.
Another one. We keep doing this. Another
one. God, never get sick of it, whānau. It's going to keep on happening.
3, 2, 1.
This story has also brought you as a role model for Samoan children and adults from our side of the world as well. Talk about that responsibility to the Pasifika and Māori audience.
Well, very proud of my culture, and my family, a lot of them still over there in New Zealand, Grayland area. Go Grayland.
UFC is back this weekend, whānau, and lands in Nashville, Tennessee, and features two Anzac fighters, Australian welterweight Jake Matthews and UFC's newest light heavyweight, Junior Tafa. We'll start with Jake Matthews, who made his debut in 2014 on the very same card as our own Dan Hooker right here in Auckland. And he will talk about how that experience will be his advantage this weekend. What keeps you coming back in terms of that motivation when you've been in the game for so long?
Look, it's after 11 years, like this is a job. You know, I mean, at one point when I was a young kid, 19, 20, 21, it was the passion and wanting to get the lifestyle. I've had that and lived that for many, many years, like over a decade now. So now it is a job, and in that job I get paid a lot of money. So to give it up when I'm sort of peaking right now would obviously be silly. And I still like, I wake up every morning, you know, find it hard to get out of bed, but still love going to the gym and love training and love being in the UFC and love being a fighter. I do love it and enjoy it because, and also I look at the world especially because of my faith, I look at it in a different way where I'm very lucky to be able to do this. There's a lot of people that have a lot worse off. So that helps me not get complacent over my job being a fighter. And there was a point in my career, probably the first time I mentioned this, but where I was considering maybe I'll just give up fighting. It was around the COVID time, you know, maybe I was out of contract, and yeah, I was considering just giving it up, maybe just fighting here and there on other promotions. But then when the kids come along, you know, it's not just your own interest that you have to look out for. So that's, family, it's a job. I mean, not everyone who can just say, oh, I want to quit my job today. You know what I mean? So it's that sort of obligation to the family, to the career that keeps me coming back at this point.
And it's turned out that you're one of the longest standing Anzac fighters that we've ever had, to be fair. And then the game within that time has just evolved with this new wave of fighters coming through. I know, you know, with the road to UFC that just, hasn't finished yet. It'll be continuing on in August and I think maybe September. But, you know, there's more fighters coming out of your region. There's more fighters coming out of Australia in general. Do you look at how different it was from you getting into the UFC to the pathways that fighters now have and you being a part of that blueprint?
Yeah, it's completely different to when I first got in. The whole landscape of the UFC and the fighters and the whole personality and, aura around the fighters is completely different. When I got in, we could have our own sponsors when I got in the UFC. This was before Reebok. I was in the UFC, so it was a long time ago. When I got in the UFC, the octagon wasn't even legal in Melbourne. And the sport's definitely changed since then. And I've told people for a long time, I said, you don't understand, the average UFC career is like 3-4 fights, and then people are out. And that's probably over the span of like 2 years maybe. And people don't necessarily believe me, but that is the case. Like, guys are in and then they're out. So for me to be here after 11 years and having X amount of fights, I've done pretty well. From a kid that grew up in northern suburbs of Melbourne, in Epping of all places, I've done pretty well to still be here and still be kicking along. And I'm only 30 at the moment, but yeah, I'm definitely considered a pioneer. And if nothing else, at least I can say I've kind of helped, pave the way a little bit to fighting in the first UFC in Melbourne and early days of Australian MMA, and hopefully I'm a bit of a pioneer in that sense.
Oh yeah, you did it in Melbourne. You also were on the first Auckland card as well. You're absolutely in the history books.
And first Perth card as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that you've fought outside of the region. That's just how many fights you've had during your career. But when you talk about that experience, Jake, how much does that play into your hands this weekend? Obviously, the fighter you're up against, Chitty, doesn't have, I think he's maybe 4 years into the UFC, only his second year in the welterweight division. How much does all of this work in your favour?
Yeah, look, with inside the octagon and the cage, yes. But he has been fighting since like 2007. So he was fighting when I was in year 7. I was in high school when this guy started fighting.
He's a bit older than you, wasn't he?
He's a bit older than me, yep. So I got the youth on my side. I got the experience in the cage. He's been fighting a lot longer than I have. So he has that experience. But inside the octagon is different. It's different. I've made it my home there. I feel comfortable there. I know how to handle any situation, stay composed. I've been in probably the worst situations you can be in inside the octagon and been able to fight back and either survive or come back and get a win even. So so I definitely think having that experience inside the cage will help this weekend. But in saying that, he's very experienced himself, and I think it's going to be a fun fight regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and coming off, I already mentioned at the top, the success that you've been having already. How much, of a statement do you perhaps want to make in this fight?
Yeah, at this point now, I think staying active. I've asked for top 15 here and there and everywhere, and hasn't eventuated yet. But I think just get more active. Honestly, now just fight whoever they give me. I think fighting, just taking as many fights as possible, being as active as possible. Sounds counterproductive, but that will actually get me to the top 15 rather than having a fight, sitting and waiting for 6 months, hoping for a ranked guy. It doesn't come, so I might as well just fight as often as I can. And it's about the time in my career where I am more active. Like when I was younger, there's times I had 4 fights in 12 months, and I think now is a good time to get back to that. A minimum 3 fights a year, if not 4, and I could fit that in quite easily.
Oh, great! That means you got 1 more in you this year.
Well, this one and 2 more actually.
Hopefully. Oh, excellent!
if I can, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, thank you so much for your time, Jake. All the very best for this weekend. Of course, we're here in New Zealand. We'll be watching both you and Junior in action in Nashville this weekend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Look, the first thing I noticed when you jump on camera, bro, is you're looking trimmer than usual. Talk to us about this change to light heavyweight and how it's been going this camp.
I've always been a natural light heavyweight, but just been cruising in the heavyweight division, so just took some time to be professional, and the weight just stripped off pretty easy. So
you did mention it. You mentioned it, and also your brother Justin mentioned it too when you were getting ready for your debut in the UFC, that you were coming into the heavyweight division, but eventually you will go down to light heavy. Talk to us about why after those 3 fights you thought now was the right time.
I started my MMA career back in 2023 or 2022. And I started at light heavyweight, but on the regional scene, it was just easier to get heavyweight fights. And then internationally, I was getting heavyweight fights in risen. So it was just a lot easier to get heavyweight fights than it was to get a light heavyweight fight. So then I got into the UFC, and they just kept matching me with heavyweights. So I just said, yeah, bring him on, bring them all on. Both divisions, yeah. So.
How have you felt though through this camp, preparing for light heavyweight? Have you noticed much differences?
Not really. I'm a lot quicker, a lot faster. So not really. Fighting's fighting,
And look, we walk into City Kickboxing one day, and there you were, and there your brother was as well. So talk to us about taking time at City Kickboxing during this camp.
Yeah, I learned a lot at City Kickboxing. One of the best teams in the world. They got some of the best coaches in the world. Also had a lot of good training partners there that was similar weight. So it was good to hang out with Navajo Sterling, and I learned a lot off him. He's a great guy, and the future of the sport for sure.
Mm. Yeah, talk to us about that, because your opponent this weekend was Navajo's opponent back in November in Tampa, Florida. So you'll be facing Tuco Tokas, who Navajo beat last year. So talk to us about that and perhaps comparing notes.
Yeah, he didn't really say much. He just said that the guy likes to grapple. So he just told me a lot of things that I kind of already knew about Tokus. And Tokus also comes from a very well-established gym, and he's got very good training partners. I'm a big fan of Tokus in his team. So I'm just, I was fortunate enough to be able to work with Navajo, and Navajo had beaten him. So it was some of the best trainings I've ever had at City Kickboxing.
Nice. What did you take away from it yourself? Like, were you like, is there something you thought, oh, wow, I didn't know I could do that and now you can? Or, what was like the big takeaway?
Just, everyone was very professional there, and they had good structure of trainings. I was kind of just train how I feel that day, but there you had to tick every box. You had to do every session, and I felt like I learned a lot there. It was, I would love to go back and train there again, but I live over the ditch, so it's a bit hard. So,
yeah, it'd be a huge sacrifice, but good on you for getting over there. There's a few fighters we've seen. Tyson Pedro was another one. Spent a bit of time over there as well, swears by it. And I suppose, your brother would have got something out of it too.
Yeah, it's we've trained there quite a bit. Justin trains there a lot. He likes to go back there, but because we got young kids, it's just a bit hard to spend, months at a time there. But I feel like City Kickboxing is one of the best gyms in the world.
Great environment to be in, full stop, just around that, that, like you say, that professionalism, that kind of like level up. But, talk to us about the rest of your camp, because obviously you go over there and, you're working on skills and, getting, tips from Nav and all those sorts of things. But, how's the weight cut going, and how's the mentality coming up to this, light heavyweight UFC debut?
Yeah, it's like now I get to kind of relax and, enjoy the moments and live in the moments. Right now I'm just chilling. I feel like I got an easy weight cut coming up, and the fun begins.
What kind of performance do you want to put on this weekend? Do you feel it's important to make an impact on this division?
I try not to put too much pressure on myself. I know what I can do. I know exactly how I want to fight, and I just go for the knockout every time. I don't want to point score nothing. I'm just going to go in there and take his head off. It's the same game plan every time. So.
Also pretty cool, Jake Matthews is on the card as well. So you have a familiar, another countryman alongside you as well.
Yeah. It's always cool fighting alongside a countryman. So Jake Matthews and his team, he's got a cool team. They always show love every time we see each other. So it's always awesome.
Nice. Have you bumped into Derek Lewis yet?
Nah, not yet. Still a bit early. So, yeah.
Have you met him before?
Yeah, I was a part of Mark Hunt's team when he fought him in New Zealand. So we got to spend time with him there and got to see him backstage and all that. So, he's a good. Derek Lewis is a good icon for the heavyweight division. He's been around a long time. Always shows up. I feel like I can take some of his. What he does? He just goes in to knock guys out. It's plain and simple. That's kind of how I want to fight like that guy.
Yeah, he's been a great advocate for the big boys in the UFC for sure over the years. Look, bro, it's you look really happy. You look really calm and good to go. It's going to be so exciting to see you jump into the light heavyweight division, and wishing nothing but the best for you this weekend, bro.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
This weekend, whānau, UFC Fight Night Nashville. The card will be headlined by the heavyweights Derek Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira. Check your guides for details. All the action will be on ESPN. And a reminder, next Wednesday night, Sonny Bill Williams is back in the ring, this time fighting Paul Gallen. You won't want to miss that. It's also featuring the comeback of David Nika. Book now on Sky Arena and Sky Sport Now. Thank you for joining me. Hei kona mai.
The undisputed